It's Miller Time on Talk with the
edition of Miller Time. Matt Crawford here with you in studio. Matt Miller will join me back in studio finally tomorrow for the foreseeable future. But tonight he will again join us via his phone on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. Matt, good evening.
Good evening.
Maybe one of these days we'll actually be back in studio together.
Yeah, what do you look like? I'm not sure I'd recognize you.
My appearance hasn't changed. It has been a while.
It has, but at least we're able to work together even when we can't be together.
It's the lovely part of technology. All right, we got a jam-packed show tonight. We'll talk some NBA with Dwight Howard being introduced as a Wizard today. A little bit of Redskin news as there was a Yahoo Sports ranking of all 32 NFL coaches in the NFL, and Jay Gruden not in a spot on that list that I think many Redskins fans would like him to be. We'll talk some Little League All-Star Baseball, a timing update for that. If you were tuning in to hear the Jefferson County 10 to 12-year-old Little League All-Stars, that game that we know of right now, no rain in the forecast, or at least no high percentage of rain in the forecast in Huntington at the moment. We're looking towards this evening, but that game was originally a 5 o'clock first pitch, has been moved to 6:30 with a 6:20 pregame. So we will join Ryan Epling from Huntington as Jefferson takes on Bridgeport tonight at 6:20 for the pregame, 6:30 for the first pitch. And looking at the weather just a few minutes ago, it looks like all the storms are out of Huntington, at least for today. Now, for the rest of the week, I have no idea. It seems like it's raining all up and down the East Coast. But for tonight, the game just moved back a little bit. So a 6:20 pregame with Ryan Epling. We will take you there directly after Miller Time, which is going to go till about 6:15 this evening, and a 6:30 first pitch. And Matt, Jefferson is really making a name for themselves so far in the state tournament.
Yeah, they certainly are. A 10-0 win in the opener against Cerrito Canova on Friday. Came right back with a 9-2 victory and had a 9-0 lead before giving up a couple of late runs. Never really threatened in that game as they win against Elkins, and that moves them into this game tonight against Bridgeport, which is typically one of the stronger Little League systems in the state of West Virginia. Win tonight by Jefferson, and they get another bye tomorrow and move right into the semifinal round where they're a win away from playing for a state championship. If they lose tonight, they will have to come right back out and play tomorrow to still get an opportunity to advance to that semifinal round.
And we will talk a little bit about the seeding process and the teams in the Little League All-Star State Tournament a little bit later in the show, because I have a little bit of an issue with how many teams are in it, but Matt Miller has some extremely strong views about how the seeding is done and how many teams are in the Little League All-Star State Tournaments. We'll get a little bit more in detail with that as the show goes on, but let's start with what happened yesterday in the world of Major and Minor League Baseball. Before we get to Major League Baseball, the Hagerstown Suns split a doubleheader with Lakewood yesterday, taking the first game 1-0. A total of 8 hits between the two teams. Hagerstown knocked out 4 hits in the 1-0 game. And then Lakewood shuts out Hagerstown in game number 2, 3-0. The Suns will be at home again tonight. Weather pending. I'm not sure how much rain that field took or what the forecast is in Hagerstown for the rest of the evening. But weather pending, Delmarva is at Municipal Stadium right about now, probably starting to get ready for their 7:05 first pitch. They're playing for the Governor's Cup, which if you haven't heard our interviews with play-by-play man Sean Murnan of the Hagerstown Suns, is a trophy being awarded to the team that has the best overall record in this series. Delmarva needs just one win to get that inaugural Governor's Cup, so Hagerstown would have to sweep Delmarva, which they have not done yet this year, but the last meeting against Delmarva. And Matt, it seems like Delmarva and Hagerstown play about every other week, but with about a month and a half left in the season, this is the last time the Shorebirds and the Suns will meet.
I think they seem to play so much because they're so close together that they have done those kind of short series one with another where they're here and then about a week later they're meeting for another 3-game set or something down there.
So Hagerstown did pick up at least one win yesterday against with that doubleheader, beating Lakewood 1-0 in the first game, then falling 3-0 in game number 2. All right, moving on to Major League Baseball. The Nationals are right at the same mark they were going into.
Whoa. Hold on. You missed the biggest story in minor league baseball.
Oh, I'm sorry. The fact that I assume you're meaning that Tim Tebow is out for the rest of the year with a broken right hand?
Yeah, that's huge.
Well, I thought it was huge, but I'm not sure how much everybody else thinks it's huge. I'm a big Tebow fan. So
Yeah,
I thought it was huge news, but I didn't know if everybody felt that it was as big a news as I did.
Well, and he has quietly gone about having a pretty good Double-A season. Reading an article, his batting average at about 273 on the Double-A season as a whole. You look at, I believe, 84 games played, and he has struck out over 100 times. So, he's still having issues there. But when he's, making contact, he's putting the ball in play. He's got, 5 or 6, 7 home runs somewhere in there, has driven in a handful of runs. I mean, really has put together a pretty nice season. He's actually been batting 297, I read, over the last 10 games before going out with this injury. So, that this is somewhat of a loss, because the way that he's been progressing, you really would have liked to have seen him be able to play out an entire Double-A season.
All right, well, let me pose a couple questions to you. We'll get to the Nationals if we can't before this break at the bottom of the hour after our Tomorrow in Sports History. But let me pose these couple questions to you. Number one, everybody thought that the Tim Tebow in minor league baseball was just a political or a promotional stunt. Has he proven that he is capable of being a quality baseball player to a lot of people now who may have been skeptics?
I would think so. I mean, again, there are a lot of skeptics of Tim Tebow who, for whatever reason, are skeptics no matter what it is that he does. And so, what's the saying in this day and age? Haters will hate. So, but to me, I think he's shown that he certainly has been able to pick up a sport that he has not played for a very long time and play it at a level that not many people can play, even for those guys that don't ever make it to the major leagues. Just to play in the minors is a huge accomplishment. And so for him to be able to go out and be competitive, he has been able to, play at a level where I would say many thought he would go out and make a fool out of himself because it had been so long since he had played. I certainly think that he has played well enough to turn some heads.
And I think that goes to show you just how much of a phenomenal overall athlete he was. Not to mention, I mean, you can make the argument that he is one of the top 5, top 10 greatest college football players of all time. And if you don't think that, I will be happy to argue with anybody who doesn't think that. If you ever watched him play, you can't argue that he's one of the best to ever play college football. But I think this goes to prove just how good of an athlete he is. Matt, you and I both know how difficult it is to play the game of baseball. And even looking at Hall of Fame stats, how hard it is to play at a high level of baseball and play professional baseball. So I think this goes to prove that not only is Tim Tebow showing that he was a phenomenal college football player, but he was just a phenomenal athlete through and through.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that athleticism clearly showing by what he's been able to do. Still a little awkward at times in the outfield. You saw the ball that caromed off the wall and then off the top of his head just a couple of weeks ago as he kind of misplayed one out in the outfield in deep left.
That the headlines made sure to say smacked off Tebow's head, making you think that it was like a clown Bad News Bears playing right field, when in all seriousness it bounced off the wall.
Yeah, I was really thinking of Jose Canseco in when he was with the Texas Rangers back in, what was that, probably late 80s, when he had the fly ball literally off the fly go right past his glove off the top of his noggin and out over the fence for a home run. I believe it was against the Cleveland Indians that occurred. And that's what I was thinking. And what I saw when I saw the highlight was like, yeah, okay, that wasn't that bad. Yes, he misplayed it, probably should have stopped, understood it was going to bounce off the wall and gotten back to play the carom. But, that's been the thing. What I appreciate about him is he doesn't shy away from making mistakes. Okay, I messed up on that one. I'm going to learn from that, and I'm going to move on. There are an awful lot of athletes who have egos that would not allow them to fail in the ways that he stepped out and failed, but at the same time learned from that and become a much better baseball player.
And I think that just goes along with him knowing that baseball is a game of failure. I mean, it's well documented that if you hit the ball 3 out of every 10 times, you're up to up to bat, so you fail 70% of the times, you're one of the best that's ever played. So I think that's him really absorbing the fact that baseball is a failures game. I mean, you can be phenomenal and still only hit the ball 3 out of every 10 times you're up to bat. And before we have to take our first break of the show, my second question for you on Tim Tebow is, he comes back from this injury next year. He continues to play at the level he's at, maybe improve slightly. Do you ever see Tim Tebow getting a nod in the majors, even if it's just a late season kind of call up in September for the Mets?
I certainly think it's a possibility. And in fact, before you called me just about an hour ago, I was reading an article that brought up that very point that, look, the Mets are going through a really rough season right now. They're even below the Miami Marlins in the rankings in the National League East. And we all know the fire sale that the Marlins went through and all the things that went on in the off season and how bad everybody expected them to be. And here the Mets are worse. You know, they've traded away guys. They've got guys injured. They've just gone through a mess. And this article basically said if it weren't for this hand injury, this writer clearly expected Tebow to come up at the end of this season and probably play the last 10 to 15 games in a Mets uniform, just because this might be a year to give him that opportunity. But now it looks like it won't happen because of the hand injury.
Definitely will be exciting to watch what he can do in the minor leagues again next year and see if he can get called up to the New York Mets and play some Major League Baseball. We got to get in our first break. We'll be back here in a few minutes. This break does include a NFL Network Now. Don't go change that radio dial. Miller Time's coming back in a few seconds. You're listening to Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg.
WVU Medicine welcomes Dr. Sarika Bagri to the staff at WVU Medicine Primary Care Inwood. Dr. Bagri is board certified in internal medicine and is now accepting new patients at Primary Care Inwood, conveniently located at 5047 Jaredstown Road, Suite 2B in the Inwood Medical Building. For more information or to schedule an appointment with Dr. Bagri, call WVU Medicine Primary Care Inwood at 304-229-6343. 304-229-6343.
L.A. Roberts is Berkeley County's oldest jeweler, where every season is new and exciting. In fact, new is old school to us, and though it's nothing new, our old traditions like exceptional service, quality, and value maintain L.A. Roberts Jewelers as the old master among so many new kids on the block. Whether you're a newcomer or part of the old guard, entrust all your fine jewelry needs to L.A. Roberts, Old World Jewelers for a new age, in historic downtown Martinsburg.
I'm Erin Coscarelli with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Chiefs reported at training camp Sunday, led by Patrick Mahomes, heading into his first camp as the starting QB. And he is ready to lead after learning from Alex Smith last season.
He had a process of how he made sure he was prepared for every situation in the game. And so for me, just being able to watch that and understand what's needed in order to have success in the NFL is probably the biggest thing he did for me.
Also reporting Sunday, Andrew Luck. After missing last season following shoulder surgery, the Colts quarterback is healthy and will be throwing in full at camp. Second overall pick Saquon Barkley signed a 4-year, $31.2 million fully guaranteed contract with the Giants Sunday, and he will practice Monday when they start camp. And finally, some sad news to report. Vikings O-line coach Tony Sperano died Sunday at the age of 56. The former Dolphins head coach is survived by his wife, 3 children, and 4 grandkids. This has been an NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please call this toll-free number right now, 800-390-9528. That's 800-390-9528. By calling your addiction team, you're taking the first steps to recovery. The help you need could be one call away. 800-390-9528. Make the free call now. 800-390-9528. Your addiction team is a third-party advertiser for various treatment centers and placement networks. Individual results will vary. Visit youraddictionteam.com/terms for more information.
Napa know-how. If you know how to pick something up and put it in a bucket, you know how to save 20%. This week only, buy a Napa bucket for $2.99, fill it to the top, and boom, you're a savings genius. So hurry in and save, because the Napa 20% off deal ends soon. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating stores, exclusions apply. Minimum 3 items.
You've been injured, you're missing work, the medical bill collectors keep calling, and the other person's insurance company wants a lot of confusing paperwork signed and returned. At Ferretti Law Office, we handle these situations to protect your rights and get you the compensation you deserve. We explain how the insurance coverages work for your benefit and what a lawyer like me can do to make a difference. Call Ferretti Law Office at 264-8505 to schedule an appointment to discuss your situation for free. At Ferretti Law Office, we're here to help.
Start the Mountaineer football season off with a bang and head down to Charlotte, North Carolina to watch WVU take on the Tennessee Volunteers. The Eastern Panhandle WVU Alumni and Fan Club has organized 2 buses to carry fans of the Gold and Blue to the game on Saturday and back home on Sunday. The cost is $90 for each bus ticket and $99 for a hotel room at Drury Inn and Suites with this special group rate. So don't miss a chance of a lifetime and reserve your spot on this special trip today. Phone 304-263-4971. Welcome back into Miller Time on this rainy Tuesday evening, 5:22, if you're looking at your clocks right now. Matt Crawford here with you in studio. Matt Miller joining us via the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line. And Matt, can you believe that high school football, maybe not games, but high school football is just a week away?
Yeah, it'll be this time next week that pretty much every area team will either have been or even at this moment in time be on the field with their first set of practices.
And it seems like it has just crept up on us very, very quickly. And the NFL season, not too far behind it, as training camp starts later this week. Matt, you and I had a chance to catch up with Hedgesville head coach Joey Urish going into his 3rd season at the helm of the Eagles a little bit earlier today. And we started our conversation with Joey and talked about just his expectations for the upcoming season.
After talking to Brian Thomas a couple of years ago when I got the job, he told me year 3 was the most important because the guys should understand your system and be able to run your plays and everything the way you want them to. So our guys are finally starting to take a little bit of a leadership role to them, and our defense coordinator, Matt Fairclough, said that at the end of last year that we kind of set the standard now for what Hedgesville football is expected to do. So we have high expectations for this year. We got a lot of guys returning with a lot of game experience. We're really big up front. We're kind of in a question mark for a quarterback, but I think we found the right guy. But, we had a great summer. 3-week camp went great. We got to travel to UNC, Maryland, WVU, Richmond. We went all over the place with our guys, so they were able to get a lot of exposure and put themselves out there.
How important are those 7-on-7 opportunities? I know it's not quite like a game situation. You don't have linemen and those things going on, but how important are those opportunities to get out on the field and work on what you do?
I think the biggest thing about them is to be able to go out there and compete. I mean, to see our guys go up against some of the top teams in the country, down at UNC and WVU and at Maryland, we saw a lot of good talent. To see our guys compete against the highest talent that we're going to see, over the summer is something special for us. And of course, it's nice to work on your stuff. Defensively, it kind of stinks. Every defensive coordinator in America hates 7-on-7s because you never run what you're going to run, and you don't have a pass rush. And but you get to see your guys compete, and that's the biggest thing. And for me, it's exposure for those kids. I mean, a lot of those kids have aspirations of playing college football, and in West Virginia, it's hard to get them recognition. So we get them out there and let them display their talents.
Open on a Thursday night this year. How cool is it to be able to be the first on the field in game action?
Love it. Coach Simpson and I talked about it when he got the job at Washington. It enables us to get a big crowd for that first game, whether it's our place or his place. It kind of allows everybody in the area to come watch our game. But it also allows us to go out on Friday night and kind of scout the other teams we're going to see throughout the year, especially with us having a late bye. It allows us to go out and see some of the teams that we're going to be able to see that year. So it's exciting. It's exciting for everybody. It's going to be our military appreciation night, so we're going to have a bunch of stuff here for the kids, and we're hoping to have a big crowd.
When you look at players that you lose to graduation from last year and coming into this year, you did mention you've got a number of players back, though, that do have game experience. Would you put yourself ahead of the curve a little more on one side of the ball than the other based on who you lost?
Other than Jason Plotner, at quarterback, Of course, we lost some key guys, but Jason Plotner is a hard guy to replace a quarterback, especially with 2 years' experience and leading the team. I mean, we lost Gavin Smith and Taylor Holtz early to injuries, so that kind of killed us all year long. But we've got guys that are stabilizing our program on both sides of the ball, and I don't think that we're going to be down on either side of the ball this year in special teams. I think we've got the best kicker in the state, so it's going to be a big year for us. Obviously, we got a big mountain to climb with the other team over there, about 10 miles south of us. But it's exciting for us to be able to say that Hedgesville's competing with Musselman and Martinsburg and Jefferson and Spring Mills year in and year out. Is a lot to say about these kids and the work ethic they're putting in.
Going into your third year, has the prep in the offseason gotten easier, or is it still a challenge and a grind year in and year out?
I think the sport of football itself is a grind year in and year out, trying to fight social media and trying to fight kids from Fortnite and trying to get kids to come out and lift and do what they're supposed to do. And, you try to promote kids to play other sports, and thankfully we got a great basketball coach over here, and our baseball coach just took over as the AD, so he's kind of understanding the importance of playing a variety of sports, and I'm a big component of that. So I wish all my guys would play as many sports as possible because I did in high school. But if they're not, playing a sport, they should be in the weight room. So thankfully the guys who didn't play other sports were in the weight room for us this year. We definitely got stronger as a team. Coach Faircloth and Coach Gillis put together a good weight program for us, and our kids really bought into it this offseason.
Speaking of all of that work, how do you approach training camp? What will it be like for your team, your players, your coaches a week from now?
Fast. Everything that we're going to be doing is fast. We have a majority of everything that we want in on both sides of the ball. Now it's just getting repetition and getting guys to perfect what they do. I mean, this is the third year they've been doing it on offense, so it should just be a lot of repetition for those guys, and to get a young quarterback in OES, a lot of reps in practice so that he sees what's going on. He's got a lot of weapons out there on offense, so we just got to get him comfortable and get him the ball.
Coach, we appreciate the time, and we look forward to being at your first game. Myself and Mike Jacobs will be calling that Thursday night game, so we'll get that out over the airways, and the Panhandle will be listening.
Sounds great. Hey, Matt, Friday night at 8 o'clock at Bricks 27 downtown Martinsburg, West Virginia Sports News is coming to do a little piece on the rivalry between us and Musselman. So good opportunity for people in the community to come out and hear a little bit about football before it gets going, and to talk to 4 key players from both sides, and both head coaches will be there.
One more time, give us that information.
Bricks 27, Martinsburg, downtown on Queen Street. We're going to be having a live feed at 8 o'clock. Both head coaches will be there. 4 key players from both teams will be there. And West Virginia Sports News, along with Blue Gold Sports, is kind of putting it out there for those guys to do a little piece on the 67-year rivalry between us and Musselman.
Again, Hedgesville head coach Joey Urish on the season upcoming, just a week away from starting practice. And Matt, he used the words and he used the phrase being able to compete with teams like Martinsburg, Musselman, and all the EPAC schools. And that's just what they did last year, and were able to host a home playoff game for the first time since the early 90s. This is a team that is slowly turning into a powerhouse in the Eastern Panhandle again.
Yeah, and it's been so long since they've been in this position. You got to go back to 1995 to look back to when they were really at the peak of the program, and went through some lean years after that. And so to see this program under Coach Urish and his current staff get to the playoffs 2 years ago and then host a playoff game last year, you know that the desire is to take that a step further and get a big playoff win this year. And
cool to see some recognition of the, 67 straight years between Hedgesville and Musselman?
Yeah, a unique rivalry as the two schools have kind of grown together here in the county and have played each other year in and year out, and have developed that nice rivalry.
Yeah, definitely will be interesting to see, and interesting to see what Hedgesville has in store, and really what all the high school teams have in store this season, coming up very, very quickly. Again, practices start next week this time. All right, we got to get in our bottom of the hour break, which will include news, weather, and an ABC Sports update. You're listening to Miller Time on Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg.
It's not a question, but a lesson learned in time. CBS News update. President Trump is threatening to revoke security clearances for 6 former Obama administration officials who have criticized his policies. CBS News correspondent Allison Keyes.
Among those being considered, former CIA Director Michael Hayden says if President Trump does revoke his security clearance, quote, I don't go back for classified briefings, won't have any effect on what I say or write. Former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, who last served in the Obama administration, calls the move a very petty thing to do.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders.
The president contends that the fact that people with security clearances are making these baseless charges provides inappropriate legitimacy to accusations with zero evidence.
CBS News senior security contributor and former CIA Deputy Director Michael Morrell says yanking clearances for political reasons is unheard of.
A personal indiscretion, for example, would be a reason to revoke somebody's clearances.
CBS News update, I'm Wendy Gillette.
With your local forecast, weatherman Bob Kukin.
A large and slow-moving area of low pressure keeping us in the soggy forecast here for tonight, tomorrow, right on into Wednesday. Periods of showers and thunderstorms will develop and dissipate over the next 2 to 3 days. We'll see some heavy downpours at times. Our high near 80, nighttime low near 70 degrees tomorrow night. And into Wednesday, more showers and a high near 80. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
Josh Gordon will miss the start of camp as what's being called overall health and treatment plan, but no suspension. He is on the non-football illness list. David Johnson, he was at camp today. Odell Beckham Jr. plans on being at camp as well. And the Jaguars placed defensive end Dante Fowler on the active PUP list. 21 seasons, that's what it's going to be for Dirk Nowitzki, signing a one-year, $5 million contract with the Dallas Mavericks. Ryan Lochte suspended until July 2019 by the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. He received an IV, and they cannot do that under the anti-doping rules unless related to a hospitalization or through an exemption. On the diamond, 13 games in total. I'm Keith Irizarry, and this is NBC Sports Radio.
Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and David.
I'm going to do a terrific show today, and I'm going to help people because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
And I recognize the political atmosphere we have in America today. We got wonderful talk shows like you and Dave.
We appreciate that. Thank you. That's a new commercial now.
We like ourselves, don't we? Look at that face. We love ourselves.
I mean it, guys. You bring in both sides.
And I can't deny the fact that you like me right now. You like me.
Thank goodness for your show. They're hearing both sides.
So good to see you again. It's always fun to be here, Rob. I know you meant that too. I do. I like you guys. I think you all have a great talk radio, and it's always I've always enjoyed my time here.
Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and David. What did you listen to last week?
I want to talk about me.
And we're welcome back into Miller Time. Again, a scheduling update. If you're looking for Jefferson taking on Bridgeport in the 10 to 12-year-old Little League All-Star State Tournament, that game was pushed back about an hour and a half. We're looking right now at about a 6:20 pregame and a 6:30 first pitch from Huntington. Ryan Epling will have the call again as he will take you as far as Jefferson goes in this Little League All-Star State Tournament, 10 to 12-year-olds. Matt Crawford here with you in studio. Matt Miller joining us on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. And Matt, it is the bottom of the hour, so you know what that means.
I'm waiting on the music.
It is time to look at tomorrow in sports history. Taking a look at the 24th of July in our Tomorrow in Sports History segment. Going all the way back to 1909, the Brooklyn Dodgers' Knapp Rucker strikes out 16 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm telling Matt, maybe it's just me. Have baseball names really declined recently?
They certainly have changed through the years, that's for sure.
Some of the nicknames from back in the early 1900s with baseball were just awesome. 1958, Boston Red Sox slugger Ted Williams, one of the greatest hitters of all time is fined $250 for spitting at a Red Sox fan. Again. Yes, I said again, and yes, I said at one of his own fans. Fined $250. So apparently Ted Williams had a bit of a spitting issue when it came to spitting on his own fans.
Wow, I wonder what he did to opposing fans.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking, what could Red Sox fans have had an issue with? He's the only guy in the last 100 years, or the most recent guy in the last 100 years to bat over 400.
And then maybe they wanted more.
I guess. Maybe they were expecting a lot more in Boston. 1961, Roger Maris hits 4 home runs for the New York Yankees in a doubleheader. Moving on down the list, 1967, race riots in Detroit forced postponement of a Tigers and Orioles game. So when it comes to race riots in cities, the Baltimore Orioles are a constant. If you remember looking back, the spring of 2015, when the Orioles had to keep fans in the stadium with the riots going on in Baltimore, and then had a game with nobody in attendance at Camden Yards the following day. The Chicago White Sox were in town. So apparently a constant when it comes to race riots in baseball is the Baltimore Orioles.
Well, and the game must go on, it seems like, no matter what may be going on around the facilities.
Looking at 1973, Matt, you thought this year's All-Star game was a little late. 1973, the All-Star game took place on the 24th of July, the 44th All-Star game in 1973. The National League got the win 7-1 at Royal Stadium in Kansas City. So I don't know why the All-Star game was that late in 1973.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Maybe just the way the schedule played out for some reason.
Bobby Bonds of the San Francisco Giants was your All-Star MVP back in 1973. 1977, Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose passes Frankie Frisk as the switch hitting leader with 2,881 hits. Pete Rose would, a couple years later, 1 year later, in 1978, tie the NL hit streak of 37 games. That guy could hit a baseball. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
I was going to ask if he's ever going to get in.
He needs to. The old farts at the top of Major League Baseball need to either step down or pass on at some point so that Pete Rose can finally get the credit he deserves, because it is an absolute just tragedy that he is not in the Hall of Fame.
I can agree, yeah. I mean, you look at what he did on the baseball diamond, and that's what the Hall of Fame is supposed to be about, right?
You can't write the story of baseball without Charlie Hustle. 1979, the Red Sox, Carl Yastrzemski hits his 400th home run on July 24th on this day in history. And one more for you before we move on to baseball of the Major League level. 2005, the 92nd Tour de France had no winner technically, even though Lance Armstrong did win it. And Lance Armstrong retired following that Tour de France, but in 2012, so 7 years later, he would be disqualified from that win after the doping scandal that plagued now his entire career. So that is your look at tomorrow in sports history. Impress some of your coworkers at work, some of your buddies, and you have one up on the guess what happened today in sports history, thanks to this segment in Miller Time. All right, Matt, time to move on to some big league baseball. We were starting with the Washington Nationals when the show started, and we got distracted because of Mr. Tebow. But let's move to Major League Baseball over the weekend. We will get to the Washington Nationals, but first some other scores around the region from yesterday. In the NL East, thank goodness for the Philadelphia Phillies losing. The Nationals get to move up a little bit in the standings. The Padres got the better of the Phillies 10-2. The Pittsburgh Pirates got the better of the Reds in Cincinnati 9-2. And the Orioles lost game 72, falling to the Toronto Blue Jays 5-4. Other games in the region tonight include the Baltimore Orioles. Possibly, I have a feeling that's going to get rained out. There's severe rain going through Maryland right now. The Red Sox are supposed to be in town, and tonight would be the first game at home since Manny Machado has been traded. And a lot of rumors that Zach Britton will be on his way out before the trade deadline. So it should be an interesting crowd whenever the Orioles are back and get to take the field at Camden Yards once the rain moves out of the area.
They've struggled with attendance already this year, so that struggle's probably going to be even greater when fans no longer have a chance to go see a guy like a Manny Machado in the lineup on a regular basis.
Yeah, take a fan favorite out. It never increases the attendance, especially when you're on a team that, again, has lost 72 games just a few games after the All-Star break. The Dodgers are in Philadelphia taking on the Phillies, and the Pirates are in Cleveland taking on the Indians. All right, let's talk some Nats baseball. The Nats are pretty much in the same spot they were on Friday when we last talked about them at 500, 49-49, but did get a big win last night against the Braves, 6-2. Max Scherzer, 6 strong innings, gave up 2 runs on 8 hits, so kind of a high hit rate, but didn't let it really take a big toll on the amount of runs he gave up, but also struck out 7 on the day. Bryce Harper actually went 2 for 4 yesterday, drove in 2, and had his 24th home run on the day. Juan Soto, 3 for 4 with an RBI, and Adam Eaton in the leadoff spot also went 3 for 4, did not drive anybody in. But the Nationals still at 500, got rained out on Saturday, didn't get the win after Steven Strasburg struggled on his first game back since coming back off the disabled list. So the Nationals, I don't want to say not what you wanted them to do over the weekend, but you would like to have seen them get at least 2 wins over the weekend, especially when you had the Strasburg-Scherzer combination as your 2 pitchers.
Yeah, and Gio Gonzalez is the odd man out. You know, his start got bumped as a result of the rain out on Saturday. By the way, that's now going to be made up as a day-night doubleheader on Tuesday, August the 7th. Game 1 will start at 1:05 that afternoon when the Braves come back to Nationals Park, and then Game 2 will go on at its regularly scheduled time at 7:05. But, you know, you look back at the weekend and say, yeah, it's a wash. You win 1, you lose 1. They basically gained no ground. They're still 5 back of the Braves as far as second in the division, and they're 6 full games back of Philadelphia, who sits atop the division. And now, you know, they go on the road to face a team that is battling for that top spot in the NL Central. So, you know, these are playoff caliber games that the Nationals are playing right now as they come out of the series abbreviated by weather against the Braves and now move into a series against the Brewers tonight.
And the Brewers are no joke this year. The Nationals aren't playing out of their minds so far this year either, but the Brewers are looking to be a playoff team this year. So, again, not an easy first 2 series coming back, and you just don't know what you're going to get with Gio. He's had his ups and downs really his entire career, but this year especially, he's gone with the flow of the Washington Nationals and had his ups and his downs this year. So you never know what Gio you're going to get on the mound, but not an easy team to go out to their place and face.
No, not at all. I mean, the Brewers, that they're looking to make some moves that could bolster their roster and have them prepared to make that playoff push, as they and the Cubs right now are the main 2 fighting for that top spot in the NL Central and, you know, possibly a wild card spot coming out of that division as well. And so, you know, the Nationals are going to have to be playing good baseball. I mean, this was it. You're talking, you've got this last week of July, then you're going to get into August, and then September. You know, every game is important right now with the Nationals 6 back in the NL East.
Yeah, and again, just not anywhere near where you thought the Nationals would be at this point of the season. Davey Martinez talked to the media after the game yesterday, and Davey getting a lot shorter, sweeter, and to the point with his media conferences. This was his view after the big win yesterday over the Braves, 6-2.
Guys hit the ball well. Scherz pitched well, and the bullpen did well. So let's keep it going.
Again, everybody did what they were supposed to do. They won the game. You'd like for it to be that simple, but that's just not how baseball is. And like you finished that comment with, just got to keep it going. And that's something that the Nationals have struggled with the entire season.
Oh, and the thing you at least like, and, you know, Martinez brings it up on a regular basis, the team continues to battle. You know, they're making efforts. Their efforts right now, unfortunately, at times at least, just aren't panning out, you know, including Strasburg struggling on the mound on Friday night. He and Scherzer having a little verbal spat in the dugout, taking that down the tunnel a little while, you know, or at least a few moments into whatever that conversation was about. You know, it's a team that is trying everything that they can to get this thing going in the right direction.
Do you like that? I don't want to say attitude, but do you like the maturity to go along with the attitude that Scherzer and Strasburg both showed? Obviously, Scherzer had said something that Strasburg did not want to hear at all. And rather than make it a bigger scene than it needed to be, obviously, in this day and age with cameras everywhere, always on the dugout, looking for moments like this, or for players to be pulling a Carlos Zambrano and smashing a Gatorade machine with a baseball bat. But do you like that Strasburg and Scherzer knew well enough to go have that conversation in private and not make it a bigger scene in the dugout than it needed to be?
I'll be honest with you. When I saw the highlights of how that played out, I'm not sure how much it was a conscious decision as much as it was Strasburg seemed ticked off enough that he was, okay, I'm out of here, and walked away, and Scherzer kind of followed him. Now, whether in the midst of what they said to one another was kind of, hey, let's take this down the tunnel or not, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but, and there's a part of you, how do you judge that? You like the fire that leads to something like that, but I think at the same time, it just shows where this team is, that they know deep inside themselves that they should be better than what they are, and they're fighting to try to get there.
Yeah, Strasburg, I mean, he had a reason to be upset, gave up 6 runs in his first outing after being on the DL for a substantial amount of time this season. And again, I think it was, I think, just a level of frustration. And even if it was something that most of the time wouldn't necessarily get under Steven Strasburg's skin, you look at what he's had to watch over the last hour. He's been out for 2 months now, 3 months. I mean, he's been out for a long period of time, and to watch what he's had to watch with this team, not finding any sort of consistency, and everybody, I'm sure he's listening to the media in some way, shape, or form. Everybody's saying, okay, well, Strasburg's going to come back soon, and that's really helped turn this team around. And I'm sure after he went out and had that sort of performance, I'm sure all those media voices were in his head, and I'm sure this, whatever Scherzer had to say, Strasburg was just in one of those moods where I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to hear from anybody. Just let me figure this out on my own. And I'm thinking that whatever Scherzer said, it wasn't what he needed to hear at that moment.
Apparently not. And Strasburg let him know it. And I really didn't read much beyond that. So it was a brief moment, a heated moment in that time of the game. And now you move on, and let's see if this team can get going in the right direction. There's still enough time, and there's plenty of talent there, but they have to start to play more consistent baseball.
And they have to start doing it very, very quickly, as, again, we're just 1 week away from the beginning of August. And if you're not playing your best baseball going into mid to early August, and you're 6 or 7 games back in a division that's got 2 teams that are fighting for the top, it's going to be very, very tough to dig out for the Washington Nationals. So definitely a storyline that we'll be keeping a very close eye on, being an affiliate of the Washington Nationals. Again, they are in Milwaukee taking on the Brewers tonight, 8 o'clock first pitch, 7:30 pregame. We will join that in action following Jefferson taking on Bridgeport in the 10 to 12-year-old Little League All-Star State Tournament. That starts at 6:30 with a 6:20 pregame. All right, we got to get in another break. When we come back, we will talk some college football, as one of the 800,000 college football top 25 polls came out, and Shepherd still relevant in a lot of these polls. We'll talk about that and a little bit more when we come back on Miller Time.
With 4 new car dealerships and 4 used car dealerships in 3 states, Parsons is the largest used car and fastest growing new car dealer in the tri-state area. Take Parsons Ford, with huge savings on hundreds of new Fords, financing from 0%, Parsons' goal of financing for all, and Parsons' famous above-market trade-in allowances that help make Parsons #1 for used cars, too. See why so many won't buy anywhere but Parsons Ford in Martinsburg. We became #1 by making you #1 first. Parsons.
You're at a red light. Sometimes it seems like they never change. You wish you could magically turn that red light green. I'm Lori from Bechtel Jewelers. I can't help you with the street lights, but I can help you if you happen to have red lights at home. Red lights at home are even more frustrating than red lights on the street. No matter what you do or say, she gives you the red light. Is it possible to change that red light to green? I have incredible news. Unlike red lights on the street, you really can turn red lights at home into green. Put our light-changing gifts to the test. Stop in at Bechtel Jewelers. In minutes, we'll send you on your way with a little box that has a light-changing surprise for her inside. A beautiful diamond ring, earrings with her favorite gems. We'll help you pick the perfect gift. And when she sees her gift sparkling up at her, well, those red lights at home turn to green. Bechtel Jewelers, Route 11 South, Inwood. We'll help you turn red lights into green.
As Asanovich goes to second with a 2 RBI double, and Martinsburg is on the board first.
This is West Virginia State delegate and former Little League All-Star Jason Barrett. I can still remember those summer days, the fun of playing baseball, building friendships, and learning lessons that are still with me today as I serve the people of the 61st District. I'm proud to support this year's All-Stars and wish the best to each team.
61st District Delegate Jason Barrett. Trusted leadership, real solutions.
If it's been a while since you dusted off your estate plan, now is the time to do so. Failing to plan for your estate not only increases your estate and your heirs' potential tax liability, it may force the sale of a liquidation of your business that could result in a financial loss and further hardship for your family members. Cox Holiday Professionals has experience in planning for the unexpected and strategizing to reduce tax liability. Call us today at 304-263-0891. Cox Holiday and Professionals, your future, our passion.
With 4 new car dealerships and 4 used car dealerships in 3 states, Parsons is the largest used car and fastest growing new car dealer in the tri-state area. Take Parsons Ford with huge savings on hundreds of new Fords, financing from 0%, Parsons' goal of financing for all, and Parsons' famous above-market trade-in allowances that help make Parsons #1 for used cars, too. See why so many won't buy anywhere but Parsons Ford in Martinsburg. We became #1 by making you #1 first. Parsons.
And welcome you back into Miller Time, taking you till about 6:10 to 6:15 tonight. Prior to the pregame show for Little League All-Star Baseball, Ryan Epling will have the call from Huntington as the Jefferson 10 to 12-year-old Little League All-Stars will take on Bridgeport. Jefferson 2-0 so far in the tournament, looking to advance, trying to win their first state tournament in the Jefferson County program history, which again is amazing. Ryan Epling has said that multiple times, and Matt, I'm sure you and I have talked about that over the course of this tournament, how funny it is that the Jefferson County Little League system has never won a state tournament, and then you look at the high school, and it's one of the most storied programs in the entire state, maybe even the entire Middle East coast.
Yeah, and they've been able to claim those Little League state titles on different age levels, but not this particular tournament that at one time was called the 11 to 12-year-old tournament. Now they've made it the 10 to 12-year-old tournament. This is the tournament where you're going to see teams playing on ESPN and ABC Sports in Williamsport, Pennsylvania in August, and it all begins with area play, district play, or regional, however each state breaks it down, then into a state tournament, and then on to regional play. And it is hard to believe that as good as Jefferson has been at the higher levels, once these kids have gotten into high school, especially 12 state championships, that they haven't quite found the magic to get it done at this level.
All right, man, we got about 5 minutes left before we have to take our top of the hour break. Let's talk some Shepherd University football. The College Football America Yearbook Division II preseason top 30. Take a deep breath. Rankings came out, and Shepherd at number 16 in those rankings. I think that's very fair considering a lot of the question marks coming into the Shepherd program. I think that's a lot of just pure respect for the Shepherd program in itself.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. When you see these preseason rankings, I don't quite think there's 80,000 or whatever that large number was you said going into the break, but there are quite a few publications and or agencies that put out these kind of preseason polls, and obviously it's all based on the reputation of a program as a whole, as well as where a team finished last year. And to go 10-0 last year, win a third straight Mountain East Conference championship, even though it was a tough loss in that opening round of the playoffs, the respect is there, and the Rams get that top 16 ranking, and they'll have to live up to it, and whether it's something that maybe some of the returning players look at and feel like, well, this is a slight, and maybe they use that as some motivation, as we've seen some Rams teams do when they didn't get a ranking that they felt like maybe they deserved. We'll find out. I'm with you. I think it's probably a pretty gracious one, to be honest, when you consider how many weapons they lost from a year ago.
Definitely a lot of big holes to fill. Before we talk a little bit more about the football team in itself, some other members of the region in this top 30. IUP at number 2, so they are very high on this list. Assumption just 2 spots ahead of Shepherd at number 14. Shippensburg and Findlay back-to-back at 20 and 21, with Ship being in the 20 spot, Findlay at 21. And then 29 and 30 are Westchester and Cal, PA. So a lot of teams in the same region as Shepherd in that top 25 or the top 30. So it should be a tough year again for the playoff seeding in this super region for Shepherd.
Now notice, did anything jump out at you as you read that list of other regional teams that are in that high ranking?
All right, you're tricking me now.
I am, because I'm thinking a year ahead. There is not a single other Mountain East Conference team. There's not a single second Northeast Conference team, and yet there are at least 4 teams out of the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference that are in that top 30, according to this particular publication. That gives you an idea of the conference that the Shepherd Rams are about to move into, not this coming season, but next year.
And it just makes you wonder who's going to fill those shoes that Shepherd has had the entire time the Mountain East has been around in football. I mean, you mentioned it. There's not one other Mountain East school on this list, and Shepherd's joining a conference that has, looking at it, 4 or 5, that has 6 other members on this list. And you just got to wonder who's going to make that big step up from the Mountain East. And also, I think this shows another reason that the Vice President of Athletics, Chauncey Winbush, wanted to make that jump to the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. I think this list right here, at least for football, which football rules college sports, everybody knows that. But I think this shows how competitive the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference is compared to the Mountain East Conference.
Well, and when you ask who's going to step up in that Mountain East Conference, you look, and over the past 5 years of this league, you've had Concord that rose to the occasion, but only 1 year, and then kind of fell from there. You had the University of Charleston, who rose to the occasion and then fell from there. You've had Fairmont State that has risen to the occasion. So you've had 3 other programs joining Shepherd in the NCAA Division II postseason. However, Shepherd has been the only one who's consistently been able to stay there and been able to win playoff games, whereas those other 3 schools have not quite been able to get over the top. Although I do admit Concord made it, I believe, to the regional final, maybe even that national semifinal.
They did make it to the national semifinal. They were in the Final Four.
Yeah, Minnesota Mankato, I believe it may have been that took them out. So you have at least had another program win in the playoffs. But, that Mountain East, to me, is going to really be up for grabs when Shepherd is gone.
It will, especially with some of the rumors floating around that maybe schools will be merging. Should be interesting over the next couple of years to see what the Mountain East looks like, at least on the football side of athletics. All right, we got to get in our top of the hour break. When we come back, we're taking you to 6:15, taking you to Little League Baseball. Miller Time will be back here in a few moments, and we will talk some NBA basketball as Dwight Howard was announced a Washington Wizard today. You're listening to Talk Radio, WRNR Martinsburg, and Miller Time.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. Halfway through the year, there have been fewer deaths in Berkeley County due to drug overdoses when compared with the first 6 months of 2017. 17 as opposed to 31, with no fatal overdoses at all last month. As far as non-fatal overdoses, that number is significantly better this year, too, 159 when compared with 314. The statewide numbers, though, are trending the other way, at least through the end of last year. In 2017, for the first time, West Virginia had more than 1,000 fatal overdoses. A judge ordered him to spend at least a decade in prison, followed by 10 years of supervised release for sexually abusing a young girl. 40-year-old Philip Vallejo of Jarrettstown pleading guilty to one charge late last week. The abuse took place between the spring of 2014 and the spring of 2016. And more litter cleanup will be going on this week on Sir Washington and Short Roads, Delmar Orchard, and Ben Speck. So keep a sharp eye out. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
With your local forecast, weatherman Bob Kukin.
Early morning temperatures in the lower and middle 70s. We're still seeing some scattered showers around, kind of hit and miss. Early morning low at 70 degrees. More numerous showers and thunderstorms popping into the midday and afternoon for Tuesday with a high again near 80. Some heavy downpours possible at times, and more of the same on Wednesday, too, with a high again near 80. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio, WRNR.
The Mountaineers live on Talk Radio WRNR.
It's intercepted. Here's Kenny Robinson down the right sideline. It's going to be a foot race. He's at midfield. He's to the 40, being pursued. He gets away to the 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, end zone, touchdown. Kenny Robinson, 94-yard pick six.
Follow the Mountaineers all fall long on their quest for a Big 12 championship on your home for Mountaineer football, Talk Radio WRNR, the Panhandle Sports radio station.
Howdy, cowpokes. Yep, it's me again, your favorite dusty cowboy for Panhandle Printing and Design, with more questions from the trail. Ever had the feeling while looking for help with printing that you're talking to a soon-to-be cattle rustler? Or do you feel like you're wandering around the corral looking for help only to find yourself talking to some young whippersnapper that don't know a Holstein from a Hereford? Well, then if you need printed material, you really need to go see my partners at Panhandle Printing and Design. They can help with everything from design to production of stationery envelopes, business cards, invitations, final signs, banners, vehicle wraps, and a lot more. They'll treat you right and answer all the questions you have at your one-stop printing shop where they have something for everyone. Panhandle Printing and Design at 124 North Maple Avenue in Martinsburg. Call 304-267-7400 or find them online. I'm heading back to the bunkhouse. But if you need printing, it's time for you to head to Panhandle Printing and Design.
Okay, house or condo?
Definitely a house.
3 bedrooms or 4?
3.
Traditional or contemporary?
Contemporary.
So on the golf course or next to the lake?
Both.
Both.
Choosing the perfect house involves some tough choices. Where to find it? That choice is easy. Homesandland.com. There are thousands of listings from the area's top realtors. With a few clicks, you can search by bedrooms, by price, and choose just the features you want. And in Homes and Land magazine, you'll find full-color photos and detailed property descriptions. It's the perfect way to find your next home. For a free copy, call 1-800-277-7800 or visit homesandland.com. Homes and Land, connecting home buyers and sellers for over 30 years.
Talk to your realtor today about Homes and Land of the Eastern Panhandle or phone 304-579-8510. Come ride with us. EPTA invites you to take advantage of their rider programs, the $5 all-day pass, the monthly pass, and the Get a Job, Get a Ride program. Visit EPTAWV.com for further details and come ride with us. This message brought to you by EPTA, the Eastern Panhandle Transit Authority. For schedules and rider information, visit EPTAWV.com. EPTA serves Berkeley and Jefferson counties.
Take the bus, come ride with us.
Welcome back into Miller Time. Past the 6 o'clock hour, we will take you to about 6:10 to 6:15 tonight prior to the first pitch, taking you to the pregame of Little League All-Star Baseball. 10 to 12-year-olds Ryan Epling will have the call from Huntington as Jefferson takes on Bridgeport. Jefferson so far 2-0 in this year's state tournament. Matt Crawford in studio with you. Matt Miller joining us via the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center hotline. And Matt, too many Matts going around. Even we confuse ourselves every now and again.
Yeah, but I like it because when a guest says, hey, by the way, Matt, we both think they're talking to us.
And I pretty much get the Crawford.
No, come on.
All right, we mentioned before the break that Dwight Howard is officially a Washington Wizard today, and it is a move that is seen by some as good, some as bad, some as indifferent, but a lot of, I guess a lot of baggage is a good way to put it, that comes with Dwight Howard and being a locker room issue.
I'm probably in the indifferent category. There's no doubt about what he can do on the basketball court. Now, he is in the latter stages of what has been a very good NBA career. So I'm not thinking that we're getting a vintage Dwight Howard here in his early years, but, he certainly can provide some offensive spark. He hopefully can provide some defensive spark and definitely can get the job done on the boards, averaging that double-double in points and rebounds. The biggest question is, how well will he fit into what has already been a volatile locker room? I mean, you go back to last year and look at the degression, maybe you say, of this team. You were expecting progression from the year earlier when they looked so good in the playoffs and the high expectations going into last year. And then due to some injuries and some overall underachieving, they didn't play as well. And that led to issues in the locker room that really, led to to me, a terrible finish to the season. They did not play well down the stretch of the regular season and virtually weren't even in it against Toronto in that opening round of the playoffs. So how does Dwight Howard fit into that mix? Again, winning cures everything. So if he comes in and plays well, the Wizards stay healthy and they win games, I bet you it's not an issue at all. But if they go through anything like they went through this last year, then you got to imagine there will be issues.
Wizards president / GM Ernie Grunfeld was one who introduced Dwight Howard, and that was one of the things that he addressed with the media, was how Dwight Howard fits into this team and what expectations they have for Howard in the upcoming season. Here was Grunfeld's comments at the press conference earlier this afternoon.
Last year, we took a little step back defensively, and we want to improve on that end. And I think Dwight has proven over the years, by being a Defensive Player of the Year 3 times already, that he can really help on that end. And he can also help us on the offensive end. He's going to draw a lot of attention, and he'll be able to help our players at both ends of the floor. So we're really happy and pleased to have him.
All right, Matt, how much attention in this day and age of NBA basketball, how much attention does a big man draw down low? Dwight Howard, not a big man that is going to be able to step out and knock down threes and not really step out and knock down a jump shot. So how much attention does Dwight Howard really going to get this year?
Well, I mean, hopefully, if nothing else, he gives you that paint presence. How many points did the Wizards give up in the paint last year? And how many did they score in the paint last year? When you look at those two numbers, they didn't do as well offensively, and they certainly gave up a lot of points in the paint. So I guess that's the presence that Ernie Grunfeld is talking about. They need offensive rebounds and putbacks, and he's the type of guy that's going to give them that because, as you said, he's not really stepping out of the paint a whole lot when it comes to his game offensively. And defensively, hopefully you can keep him in the paint and, create a little havoc on drives to the bucket.
I do think it's funny that after the Wizards draft selection, the entire talk was, and even talking with Wizards play-by-play man Dave Johnson, which we did right after the draft, the talk was the Wizards were trying to transform into a team that was going to get up and down the floor quickly, and for lack of a better phrase, play Golden State Warrior basketball. And now all of a sudden things are starting to evolve a little bit, and they're trying to now, I don't want to say take a step backwards, but take a step back towards the direction of maybe what they were trying to do last year with Marcin Gortat, but couldn't just because of his abilities inside and what he could and could not do. So what are you expecting coming up this year? I mean, looking at as a Wizards fan when I'm watching the NBA. From what I've seen the Wizards do the last couple of years, they've tried to incorporate a big man. They've tried to have that old school style of basketball. I mean, does Dwight Howard still allow them at his age to transition into that Golden State style of quick tempo up and down the court offense? Or do you think they stay with the traditional, we're going to have a big guy down low that we're going to try to feed constantly?
I think you're going to have to play with the talent that you have. Not everybody can be Golden State. That's the thing that drives me crazy in any sport. Especially the more, baseball is a team sport. It's a little unique because there's so many individual battles there with batter and pitcher and so forth. But, when you look at football, when you look at basketball, you see where, hey, this team's having success, so everybody wants to run and try to do that. Well, you don't necessarily have the personnel to do that. You don't necessarily have the mindset to do that. And so I think the Wizards have to do what they do with the people and the players that they have. And ultimately, they've got to play better defense. They gave up way too many points last year. How many times did we see a game where they scored 100, 105, 110, but still ended up losing by 2, 3, 5 points, whatever, because they didn't get stops when they needed them. They have to find a way to stop or slow down other teams.
Big question. Does Dwight Howard make this team better? Take away the locker room issues that may or may not come with Dwight Howard. Do you believe that Dwight Howard makes this team better and makes it a better transition from not really having a big man, getting rid of Gortat, to having Dwight Howard underneath?
I think, yes, he will make them better. I mean, he had a good year last year in Charlotte. Now that, again, tells you what he was like in the locker room, because they were willing to get rid of him, even though he really had a pretty decent season there. So, again, I think on the floor, yes, he can help to make a difference for this basketball team. Again, the other things, we just have to wait and see what comes.
Well, Dwight Howard also talked to the media during his press conference, and one of the big headlines was that he opened up his portion of the press conference a little bit sarcastically. These were Howard's comments during the beginning of his press conference. The first words he spoke as a Washington Wizard.
I started with the Magic. I learned Magic for 8 years. I traveled to La La Land. I learned how to work with Rockets. And I went and learned how to fly with some Hawks. Got stung by the Hornets. Just a joke. But through all of that, it's taught me how to be a Wizard.
All right, Matt, what do you think? You think that's do you like that he's laid back like that? Or do you, if you're a fan, do you want, okay, he's had issues, I want him to come in and say, this is not what you're going to get from me this year. This is what you're going to get. I'm ready to come in here and work. Or do you think that people thinking that are a little bit on the tense side as a Wizards fan? Because I thought it was funny. I thought coming into your first press conference with a new team, I thought that was a funny way to kick it off.
Yeah, I agree. I think, he's coming in trying to be lighthearted, and maybe that's his own way of saying, look, I'm here to play basketball, get along with my teammates, and make this team a little better. I've learned some experiences along the way, and hopefully he has learned from those mistakes in the past or issues in the past, and will come in and be able to be a good teammate as well as a good player on the floor. I don't have a problem with it, and I agree with you. I thought, a little humor is a nice way to get it started.
Howard also talked about how he believes that this Wizards team is going to shock a lot of people this year.
I'm looking forward to this opportunity. I think we're going to have a wonderful season. I think we are going to really just shock a lot of people. And I think for me and the rest of this team and the organization, it's all about winning. And that is our mindset.
And that should be their mindset. They have the talent to win. They just need to go out and do it. And quite frankly, they've underachieved the last couple of years.
That's it. There is no reason with the talent they have on the floor and a veteran head coach that this team should not go out and easily compete to be one of the top 4 teams in what is really a subpar Eastern Conference compared to the talent level in the Western Conference.
Well, Matt, we appreciate you joining us. That is about all the time we have tonight. Again, tune in in about 5 minutes. Don't even turn the radio dial. We have Little League All-Star Baseball coming up. Jefferson taking on Bridgeport. Ryan Epling has the call from Huntington. Matt, have a good evening, and we'll both be in studio tomorrow night.
Sounds good. Thanks.
You've been listening to Miller Time on Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg. The next thing you will hear is Little League Baseball after this break. Thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow at 5 p.m.
I'm Amanda Linton, the Domestic Violence Project Coordinator for Community Alternatives to Violence, also known as CAV. For over 22 years, we have been intervening in family violence cases referred from a variety of agencies around the Eastern Panhandle and surrounding counties and states. This intervention takes the form of 10 weekly education classes, which teaches strategies for respectful behavior. CAV is dedicated to exposing belief systems and stereotypes, which leads to all types of gender violence, including emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Another key element to CAV is educating the community regarding violence and how it is a learned behavior which can be unlearned with new attitudes and habits. Our office is located at 314 Wilson Street in Martinsburg. For more information, visit www.commav.org or call our office at 304-262-4424. Stay tuned for our next event, a community yard sale on August 25th. CAV is ending violence one home at a time.
I am for the child who lives in motels, cars, and shelters. I am for him. The child who was finally put in foster care, a group home, where everything he owns is kept in a plastic garbage bag. I am for that child. So I am there for that child, to listen to him, to speak for him, to champion without compromise what's in his best interest. Because if I am, he will be half as likely to languish in foster care and that much more likely to find a safe, permanent home. That is the child I am for. I am a volunteer child advocate. I am you.
Lift up a child's voice, a child's life. Get involved through CASA of the Eastern Panhandle at mycasaep.org. Approximately 250 children annually need you. Become a CASA. Stand up for a child in your own backyard.
Tradition. The passing of customs from generation to generation. For decades, Martinsburg football being heard on Talk Radio WRNR has been that tradition. August marks the 34th year that the Bulldogs will be on Talk Radio WRNR with the most in-depth coverage around. Matt Miller and Dick Holmes in the booth and Jason Colrick on the Bulldog sideline. Don't miss a second of the action on Friday nights and tune in to FM 106.5, AM 740, our website, or the WRNR Talk Radio app. Talk Radio WRNR, your local leader in talk, news, sports.
Join the Martinsburg Bulldogs at their 5th annual Bulldog Golf Classic located at the Woods Golf Course on Monday, July 23rd. Check-in is at 9 a.m. with a shotgun start at 10 a.m. A fee of $80 per player, $320 per team is required. Food, prizes, and more are included at this 5th annual Golf Classic. Sponsorship packages will also be included. Monday, July 23rd is when it all kicks off with a check-in time of 9 a.m. For more information, contact Dave Walker at dmwalker@k12.wv.us or Lori Stilley at stilley@frontiernet.net.
The Eastern Panhandle WVU Fan Club is hosting 2 bus trips to see the Mountaineers play this football season in North Carolina. On Saturday, September 1st, West Virginia opens the season versus Tennessee in Charlotte. Game time is 3:30, and this will be an overnight trip. Then on Saturday, September 15th, the Mountaineers tackle NC State in Raleigh. Game time is 3:30, and the bus will return that night. For cost and additional information or to reserve your spot, phone 304-263-4971.
If you're looking for fun and beneficial activities to do in your spare time, visit the Berkeley 2000 Recreation Center at 273 Woodbury Avenue, Martinsburg, West Virginia, 25404. Take part in swimming lessons for ages 3 and up, Korean karate for children age 6 and up to adults, or join a Fitness for Life class to wind down and take the edge off. For more information, call their offices at 304-264-4842 or go online at www.mbcparks-rec.org.
Trinity Lutheran Church and Tuscarora Presbyterian are co-hosting Hero Central Vacation Bible School with classes for students from ages 4 through high school, Monday, July 23rd through Friday, July 27th, from 6 to 8 each night with a fellowship picnic Friday at 7 p.m. All are welcome at Trinity Lutheran Church at 1643 Pittsers Chapel Road in Martinsburg. For more information, call Jeanette Jones at 304-676 3750 or Trinity Lutheran Church at 304-263-1752.
If an individual student athlete or team wins a high school state championship, it's an amazing thing. It's also just the icing on the cake. That's because young people in West Virginia who participate